I just got done downloading a video about how I got exercised in a church in my hometown. Hopefully it's a fun video and I'll leave a link in the description. But one of the reasons at the time that I thought that I had gotten exercised in that church was because I had told a church leader that I was cutting myself. And I wanted to talk about that. I know there are a lot of people out there who talk about cutting themselves, and frequently you'll hear, oh, I wish I'd never started doing it. I've got these scars even to this day. By the way, I've got the scars even to this day. Yeah. You can't see them, so, didn't even try looking for the pixel that's slightly paler than all the rest of them. It was something I did. Do I regret it? No, not really. I did it not a lot. I did it here and there, not as much as some of my friends. I didn't do it with the intensity that some of my friends did. Some of them would just like carve away at themselves. They would like carve designs into their skin. Me, I would just rake my nails up and down my arms until I had big long scratches, and then I would pick at the scabs and keep them from healing. This one time, this girl in my school got together with a bunch of her friends and they all pinned me down just so that they could put a bandage on one of my arms, because she didn't like the fact that I had an open wound that I was keeping open. She found that really disturbing for some reason. I don't know why. I was kind of irritated because then I had to pick the bandage off and then I had to pick all the scars open, and they kind of healed partially by the time they left me alone. And it was like, God damn it. The reason I would advise you not to cut yourselves, because I would advise you not to do it, is not necessarily because, oh, I did this and it was bad for me. Yes, it was bad for me, but whatever. Oh, I've got the scars even to this day. Yes, I have the scars even to this day, but whatever. Oh, it's just not good for you and you deserve better and blah, 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 blah. So, sometimes in life you get to this point where you have too much on your plate and you need some goddamn relief. I was at that point in my life. I needed some relief. I didn't need a pep talk. I needed relief. I had some pretty not so good things happening to me. I had kind of a rocky start in life. It wasn't like I was being abused or beaten or molested or anything like that. I had a bit of a rough start, and I was very angry. I was very frustrated. I was very anxious. I had good reasons to be angry and frustrated and anxious. And I was very stressed out. The reason I would say don't cut yourself if you are angry and anxious and stressed out is because there's better things you can do. I mean, I couldn't get my hands on any kind of good counseling or therapy. There was no one I could go to talk to. There was no one I could go to for help at that point in my life. And so I didn't have anywhere to go for help. I didn't go to anyone for help. And I still needed to cope with all these things. And so, I did cut myself for a while, scratch myself up and all that. But eventually I just found something better. And so instead of wasting your time with cutting, because I do think it's a waste of time, I think it's a waste. Instead of doing that, let's just skip ahead to the much better thing that I found, and let's start there. First of all, a quick disclaimer. If you think that you stand to benefit in any way from counseling or therapy or what have you, and you have access to that, by all means, seek that out. This isn't an either or thing, like, oh, you can do my method or you can do therapy. You can do them both. They work very well together, Definitely do that. But as far as the cutting itself goes, here's what I substituted in instead that was just so much more effective. And it's going to sound really dumb, but bear with me. Exercise. And I'm not talking piddly exercise either. I'm not talking like going for a long walk or, I was doing step aerobics because I was very unhealthy and I had all these health problems and I was trying to get them under control and I didn't know how to get them under control. And I was doing these little piddly light step aerobic things that I could do because of, you know, limitations, physical limitations I had. And they didn't do anything. I never lost any weight. I just, you know, I would do them all the time, and they never had any kind of effect. And then I started pole dancing. And pole dancing is not like little piddly step aerobics. Pole dancing is a weight bearing exercise. And, you know, the idea is that you are literally bearing your own weight. You're carrying yourself up a very, very slippery metal pole. It is a pretty intense workout. And, you know, I'd do that, and I loved it because I was excited to learn how to pole dance because it's a very pretty art form. And, well, to me, it's pretty. I would work so hard at that, and my muscles would all be burning, and I would dance and dance and dance until I could just not go any farther. I couldn't move anymore. I had to sit down because I just didn't have the energy or the strength to keep going. And what I learned from that is that it had an amazing effect on my mental state. It was wonderful. I felt calm and peaceful and relaxed and mellow, and everything was good. Everything was good. And so I started doing this because I wanted to learn how to dance, and I kept doing it, like very, very intensely. I'm very, very just religiously doing these exercises because I got relief from it. You know, all those negative emotions, all the stress, all the anxiety, all the anger, it was very easy to evaporate some of that excess emotion by just getting a very intense workout. Not the piddly stuff again. Has to be something, at least for me, it had to be something a little bit more intense. I had a lot of problems to deal with. At one point I went through kind of a plateau in my pole dancing skills where I hadn't learned anything new, and I just wasn't doing anything to really generate a good muscle burn for myself. And the muscle burn feels so much better than cutting yourself. Like, yeah, you get a little bit of relief from, you know, cutting open your skin. You get a good muscle burn going, and it is sheer heaven. Like, it is a good feeling. So, you know, at one point I wasn't getting my muscle burns from pole dancing, so I took up contortions. And I was doing contortions on stage and making a decent amount of money from that. Contortions, I'd come into the club early in the night before all the customers got in. I'd go to the back area, kind of where they sold the dances, and I would do all my stretches. And when I was done doing all my stretches, I swear I felt like I was going to melt into a flesh puddle on the floor. Like, I'd be sitting at one of the tables, and I'd be kind of leaning over because I was just so relaxed, and I just felt so good. And the other dancers, on more than one occasion, would pull me aside and ask me if I was on muscle relaxants. And I'd tell them no, and then they'd ask me if I was on pot because they were just sure I was on something. No, I felt really good. Like, that did it for me. And so I would definitely recommend trying that out as a substitute for cutting. Cutting, really, really brief sense of relief, very brief, doesn't last long. You know, it's not going to carry you through the rest of the day, really. I mean, maybe for some people, but for me, it just did not begin to cut into the depth and intensity of my anxiety and my anger and all the other negative emotions. I mean, I was a mess. And I really needed something better than just, you know, a few little cuts in the skin. And I don't even think that bigger, deeper cuts in the skin would have helped. Like, it just was not helping nearly as much as I needed help. It wasn't calming me down to the level that I needed to be calmed down to. And I know that people do cutting for different reasons. And some people who do self-harm, they're already athletes. And so it's kind of like, well, you know, Um, work out not because you're trying to reach some specific goal. Work out for the relief. Work out for the feeling, because that's why I did it. And there are benefits to that. I'm not just talking about the fact that you lose some weight and you look better and people, you're doing a good thing for yourself, whatever. The benefits include the fact that exercise is one of the ways in this society that you can beat the shit out of yourself. And everybody thinks you're doing a good thing. I have a relative who is an ultra marathon runner and, runs for miles and miles. This guy, he has run so long and so far and so hard that his toenails peeled right off of his toes. They just fell right off. Any other thing you'd be doing and people would be telling you, okay, you need to be taking it easy. You're pushing yourself. You're doing some things that are not good for you. Clearly, you're doing things that are not good for you. You need to, take a break. I mean, he had one run, and I'm sure he's had actually multiple runs, but he was telling me about one time he was doing a run, and there are these like stations along these ultra marathons where they actually test your vitals to make sure none of your organs are shutting down under the strain of running these really intense runs. Anything else, any other activity, and people would be saying, this is not a good thing, but it's exercise. So all of a sudden it's not, maybe you should get some help for this, or maybe you should get some therapy. Instead it was, oh my gosh, I wish I was so motivated. I wish I had your discipline. I would never be able to do something like that. It's like, it's a completely different social reaction. So instead of like hiding my arms with long sleeves, I would be covered in bruises after work, covered in them. Like I even made another video talking about how I'd feel really, really peaceful after work and I would be covered in bruises. And yes, I was really peaceful and I was covered in bruises and nobody was looking at those bruises saying, oh, maybe you're doing a bad thing. Anybody who knew that I was getting a very intense workout would look at the bruises and be like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of bruises. I'd be like, yeah, I know, I had a great time. They didn't need to know what I was running away from. It's just a workout. It helped dramatically, like really dramatically. Like I cannot emphasize enough how dramatic the changes were in my life when I started doing all this. I made a video about how pole dancing changed my life. I'll leave a link in the description if you're interested. But I look at all of the benefits that I got from just a really intense workout, a regular schedule of really, really intense workouts. And then I look back at cutting and just this very weak attempt that I had at getting through some of these really horrible things I was dealing with. They weren't horrible. They were, I nearly died, so kind of semi, almost horrible, what have you. I compare those two things and it's just not even close. Cutting just, it didn't do it. It did not give me the kind of relief that I needed. And so I really wouldn't recommend it to people. Like I did it at the time because I didn't have anything better, but I found something better. So what I would recommend is a very intensive workout regimen. Not necessarily pole dancing. You might not like pole dancing. Find something you like. Find something that seems like fun to you. Something that seems like play. If it's just exercise and you resent it, because I have exercises that I have to do that I really, really hate and resent, and I find them very monotonous and very repetitive and very annoying. Don't do that to yourself. You're just gonna hate it. Find something fun. For me, it was dance. Dance is fun for me. For you, it might be weightlifting. Find something. And do it until you're exhausted. Do it until you get a good muscle burn and you're really tired. And try it out and see if it doesn't help. I highly recommend trying that over cutting. because cutting just does not begin to stand up to that level of relief and comfort that you feel from a good workout. I just think it's a much better solution. It was a much better solution for me. I think it would be a much better solution for a lot of people out there. And so, definitely give it a try. If you are cutting yourself, if you are, burning yourself or hurting yourself in some other way, just to get some relief from, overwhelming emotions, overwhelming circumstances, give this a try instead. It might take a little while, but it really didn't seem to take that long for me. Give it maybe a month or so. Give it a try. I would say leave a comment to tell me how it works out for you, but you probably aren't going to want to do that given the nature of what I'm talking about. But yeah, I really recommend it. And if you are one of those people, I don't know what you're going through. If you need help, I hope you go get help. And whatever you're dealing with, I wish you the best of luck with it. Try exercise. It worked for me, and I care a lot more about what works than I care about what society thinks about it, honestly. If cutting was the ultimate solution, I'd be like, yeah, it's not that bad. But it's just not a very good solution. So, this is what I did that was better. Here's something better. So, yeah, give it a try. And good luck. I'll talk to you guys later.